Today we are going to be talking about the fear and anxiety that comes with flying and traveling in general. And I wanted to share with you guys some of my tips and tricks that have helped me overcome my fear of being up in the air and traveling in unknown airports and overwhelming airports, and just some things that have really helped to reduce my stress and anxiety with the whole traveling experience. To give you guys a really quick background on my experience with traveling, flying has never been a new thing to me. Ever since I was a little girl, I have been on airplanes traveling with my family. Then when I was 17, my family moved overseas to Uganda for my dad's work, and I spent the next 5 years traveling back and forth between Uganda and Canada. I ended up going to England during that time, and just a lot of flying happened in that time period until just last summer when my family actually returned to Canada, and now we all live here, and it's amazing, and it's like a dream come true. Anyway, getting off topic here. As I was saying, flying hasn't ever been like a new thing to me. It's not something I've had time really to develop a fear for, because it's been something, a part of my life for as long as I can remember. We would pack our suitcases and go on the airplane, and it was a fun adventure. However, as I've gotten older, the good old joys of stress and anxiety and thinking about the worst case scenario has gotten to my mind time and time again, and I developed a bit of anxiety towards traveling, and it really started to kind of put a damper on the fun of getting out into the world and exploring new places, because there was just this nerves and anxiety and stress and fear that would just cripple me before flying, and I really didn't like it. So these are some of the tips and tricks that I picked up over the years, because I was forced to fly if I wanted to even see my family in Uganda. And so flying just could not be a fear of mine. I had to get used to it. So these are tips and tricks that I have helped to overcome anxiety. And I know there are a lot of people out there who have a fear of flying and a fear of being that high up in the air, a fear of navigating new and overwhelming airports. So I wanted to share this for anyone out there who might be struggling with that, to share my tips and tricks on how you can enjoy and even come to love the flying experience. Tip number 1 is to plan your trip wisely. Be involved in planning your trip, especially if you are traveling with friends or family members who might be booking flights for you, or just for the whole group in general. Be involved so that you know what is happening. For example, if you are someone who gets a lot of anxiety about missing your flight or having really short layovers and missing that connecting flight, instead of just letting someone else book your flight and then the day of finding out you have an hour layover, and if your flight's delayed, there's probably a high chance you're going to miss your connecting flight, be involved from the very beginning so that you know what is going on. And if you're really stressed about having short layovers, book longer layovers. And little side note is that if you do usually book like trips with longer layovers, they often are cheaper, and so it's a win-win in the end. You don't have to stress about missing your connecting flights. You can take time in the airports to find your way around and not feel rushed or overwhelmed or have that anxiety of what could go wrong. Instead, if you've got like 3 to 5 hours in an airport, you are totally fine. Plan ahead, think ahead, and be involved with booking your flights, because that is the number 1 step to reducing the anxiety and to reducing things out of your control. That is in your control, so book your flight accordingly and just reduce the stress of it in the first place. Tip number 2 is to ask for help. This was such a big thing for me, and I just wish that my brain had thought of this sooner. I don't know why, but I've just always been that person who's really nervous to go up to the information desk and be like, hey, I have no idea where I am, can you help me? But the second I overcame that, my whole flying experience changed, and it's now the best thing ever, because I don't need to be stressed, because I know that if I don't know where I'm going, someone else does, and someone else is willing to help me. Everyone in that airport wants you to get on your airplane. It is literally their job to have every single customer be happy. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, go and ask someone, and they are honestly, I don't know, I've always had the best experience with people in airports. And even if you don't get lost, if it just overwhelms you that you won't know where you're going, plan in your mind, when I get off the airplane, I'm gonna find the first information desk or the first airport employee, and I'm just gonna show them my ticket and say, hey, where do I go? They will tell you in a second. And even if they don't speak English, because I didn't realize that's a thing, but there's airports in this world where no one speaks a lick of English, and you're literally walking around like, what? And they're yelling things at you to you in security, and you're just like, ma'am, I'm sorry. I literally have no idea what you're saying to me right now. We're gonna have to break this down. Anyway, so yeah, there are airports out there where people don't speak English and you can't exactly ask for help. But thankfully, if you have your little ticket, just show it to them and they'll still try and guide you in the best way possible to find where you're supposed to go. The next tip, because I have already lost count, that's how great my brain is today, is to create a calm playlist. This is a huge lifesaver, especially if you have anxiety and fear towards it. This tip can also be helpful both on the airplane and in the airport. For example, if takeoff is really stressful for you, leading up to takeoff, try and put your headphones in and just like calm yourself down. Often they will request that you take your headphones out for the actual takeoff experience, but leading up to it and right when the plane is in the air, you can have your headphones in and just like, I don't know, create a playlist with some of your favorite songs that really calm you down and just put you in a really peaceful mind. I also really love using my calm playlist inside the airports, if not more than on the airplane, because airports are so loud, especially really large international big airports where there's like many gates and there's just so many things going on. You've got ads being said over the speakers, you've got gate numbers being announced, you have can so-and-so please come to this gate, and there's just so much going on. You're trying to focus on your gate number, you're trying to focus on where you're supposed to be, and it can be really overwhelming with all the noise going on. And then on top of that, you're usually surrounded by like so many people. Some people can be pushing and shoving or running for their airplane, and it can be a really overwhelming experience. So simply, again, find a quiet spot if you can. If you have a couple hours or just a couple moments of like a waiting time in the airport, find a quiet spot, put in your headphones, but just like zoning out the world, I think can be a huge help on the airplane and in the airport. It just really helps to calm yourself down and forget about the stress of everything going on around you. You don't need to worry about that. That's not your stress, so don't carry it. Next is to request your seat ahead of time. You can either do this if you pre-book online before you even go to the airport, or you can also do it when you check in at the airport. Is simply ask what seats are available and then try and choose one that is most comfortable for you. Most people often run to the window seat. That's like their first option is, I want the window seat because you can look out the window. However, if being that high in the air is like scary for you and stresses you out, maybe try and stay away from that window seat, because you're gonna get really scared when you open that window and see how high you are up in the clouds. And if that's just like a daunting thought for you, personally, I would recommend staying away from the window seat. I've never really met anyone who wants to request the middle seat in a 3-row. But I mean, if that's you and you like the comfort of having 2 people on either side of you, then request that one. Personally, I am an aisle seat fan. I don't know why, but I always just get so anxious about asking people to move so I can go to the bathroom. It's ridiculous, I know, but for some reason, I get super anxious about asking other people to move so I can go to the bathroom. So personally, I like to request the aisle seat, so that just reduces the stress. And you know what? If you have silly little things that are gonna stress you out on the airplane like that, just reduce that. You don't need to have that stress, so ahead of time, book a seat that you would prefer. Also, pro tip, if you get claustrophobic on airplanes, which was something I really struggled with for quite a long time, requesting the aisle seat can also help you feel like you just have a lot more room. You can stretch your legs out on the seat. It's easy access to stand up, easy access to the bathroom, easy access if you get really overwhelmed and nervous and you just need to take a walk up and down the aisle. Personally, I think the aisle seat is great if you get nerves, because I don't know, it just feels like you have more space and it feels less like you're in the air than when you're right by the window and you're literally staring at the clouds the entire time. That can be a little overwhelming. My last tip would be to distract your mind and try and stay distracted and busy for the whole duration of your flight. I think one of the things that has helped me the most overcome any fear of flying that I've ever felt creeping up inside of me is to just distract my mind, to not let my mind think of the possible outcomes, to not think of the worst case scenario, and to not like stress over every little like feeling of turbulence that I get. But I hate turbulence. But distracting my mind has really helped me to enjoy my flights a lot better. Personally, my favorite part of flying is takeoff and landing because, I don't know, it's fun and something's actually happening. The rest of the time, the next like 3 to 7, 8 hours, you should just kind of sit in there. So don't let your mind wander, either through listening to music, journaling, bring a favorite book of yours to read. Personally, my favorite is to watch a movie. For some reason, when you watch a movie, it's like your brain just like zones out of everything and zones in on what you're watching, and it's as if you're like kind of in the movie. And so for me, watching funny and uplifting movies and really like mind captivating movies can really help. Also, it's a really fun way to update on the latest and greatest in the movie world. So there you have it. Those are my top tips and tricks that have really helped me overcome my anxiety and fear of flying and traveling in big and daunting airports. The world of airplanes has honestly opened our world up so much, and it's just connected us as a world in a whole new way. We're able to travel to new places, experience new cultures, taste new foods, and just see how the rest of the world out there lives, and it's such a beautiful thing. And so for me, it's so heartbreaking when a fear can stop you from exploring something so incredible as the world around us. I hope that these tips and tricks helped you guys and that you're able to incorporate them into your next traveling experience, and that we can all go out and explore the world without the fear and anxiety and like the daunting prospects of getting to our destination. Instead, try and make traveling through airports and traveling on airplanes an exciting new experience, and just do your best to stay calm. Do not panic, because it's all going to be okay, and at the end of the day, it's a really, really cool thing to think that we are flying like across the world. Just that thought, it's really amazing the things that we get to do in our world today. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, and if you would like more travel related videos in the future, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you aren't already, subscribe to my channel for more videos coming out every single week. Alright, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!